after Hussein was martyred. May God be pleased with him. This call, the call of Hussein, come, let us pledge allegiance to you. This is a revival, or let's say this is the second stage, the stage of Shi'ism. The first stage, we said, was during the time of Ali when they said to him, you are he, but it quickly ended. We are talking about this during the time of Ali. God knows best when, but let's say between 35 or 36 AH from the time of Ali's rule until the year 40 R in Ramadan of the year 40 AH, 4 years and a few months. During this period, those words were said, and it is most likely after Saqifah, meaning after the year 37 H, the martyrdom of Hussein. This was in the year 61 R, meaning about 20 or 23 years after the departure of the first group. This group, Hussein said, come, also did not have beliefs different from the beliefs of the Muslims, and they did not have mosques or Husseineers or anything at all, and they were part of the Muslims. All that happened was that these were the people of Iraq, and they were ruled by Ali, may God be pleased with him, and they were satisfied with Ali's rule and did not accept the rule of Muawiyah, let alone the rule of Yazid. So they asked Hussein to come to them, and they betrayed him. Or some betrayed him because many Iraqis are not Shia. In fact, most are not Shia. In any case, this is the second manifestation, which is sympathy for Hussein. We can call this manifestation a political one. Therefore, the first two groups that emerged, the Kharijites and the Shia, were political groups, not religious ones. They were political groups, not religious ones. So, the Kharijites did not have an ideology. They did not rise up for an ideology, but rather because of the ruler's major sin. They declared the companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, to be infidels, the companions of the Battle of the Camel to be infidels, the companions of the Battle of Saqifah to be infidels, everyone who participated in the fighting to be infidels, everyone who committed a major sin to be infidels. Then they fought for this cause, but they did not have any doctrines that differed from the Sunnis on this issue. The Shia are a purely political group 100%. They have no other concern. They are simply a political group. They do not want Yazid. They only want Hussein. They did not have any doctrines that differed from the Sunnis. They did not have mosques, and they never had any opinions that differed from the Sunnis. However, they deviated in the issue of rebelling against the ruler. After the martyrdom of Hussein, a group of people felt Kufr was filled with sorrow and grief, especially those who did not go out to fight Hussein, but also did not support him. May God be pleased with him. We said that 18 people from Kufr pledged allegiance to him, while those who went out to fight him number 5,000. Of course, not all 5,000 pledged allegiance to him, but among them were people who did. So we have approximately 115. These people did not sell out, they did not betray Hussein, but they abandoned him, they did not support him, they left him until he was killed. May God be pleased with him, a martyr. The man was settled in his city, whether we say in Medina or in Mecca. We were the ones who told him to come. We were the ones who brought him out of his city. Then we left him until he was killed. So he felt regret, sorrow, pain, and guilt, but what could they do? They remained silent. Hussein was killed in the year 61 AH. May God be pleased with him. They waited until the year 64 AH. In the year 64 AH, Yazid ibn Muawiyah died. Yazid ruled for 4 years, from the end of the year 60 AH to the beginning of the year 64 R. In the year 64 AH, Yazid died a normal death. When Yazid died, he was young. Yazid had not yet reached 40. When Yazid ibn Muawiyah died, chaos ensued. How did chaos arise? When Yazid died, he bequeathed the caliphate to his son Muawiyah. Muawiyah ibn Yazid, ibn Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. It is said that Muawiyah was a righteous and pious man when his father died and left him the rule. He said, I have no need for it. I have no need for it. Let the Muslims choose whomever they wish to rule them. I do not want to rule. So Chaos ensued. Then Abdullah ibn Zubair declared himself Caliph of the Muslims in Mecca. Abdullah ibn Zubair declared himself Caliph of the Muslims in Mecca, and allegiance was pledged to him in the Hijaz, then in Transoxiana, then in Egypt, then in Iraq. Therefore, when scholars write about Abdullah ibn Zubair, they say, Commander of the Faithful, Abdullah ibn Zubair. He ruled for 9 years, from 64 to 7 when he was killed. May God be pleased with him. When Abdullah ibn Zubair declared himself Caliph of the Muslims, Marwan ibn al-Hakam refused to accept him in Syria. People from Syria gathered around him and said, "We do not want Abdullah ibn Zubair, we want you." So he refused to pledge allegiance to Abdullah ibn Zubair. Ibn al-Zubair wanted to pledge allegiance, but then he refused to rule and remained in Syria, refusing to pledge allegiance to Abdullah ibn al-Zubair in Iraq during that period. When the Caliph Yazid died, and then the Caliph who succeeded him, Muawiyah ibn Yazid, abdicated, a political vacuum arose. The people of Iraq, or rather the people of Kufa, saw an opportunity to atone for their sin against al-Hussein, may God be pleased with him. They staged a coup against the governor of Kufa, Ubayd al ibn Ziyad, who had ordered the killing of al-Hussein. Ubayd al ibn Ziyad, the governor of Kufa, was a wicked Nazabite anti-Shia, and he was the one who ordered the killing of al-Hussein, may God be pleased with him. The people of Kufa, especially those who had not participated in the killing of al-Hussein, and had pledged allegiance to him but had not fulfilled their pledge, said, "We must take revenge on those who killed al-Hussein or ordered his killing." So they staged a coup against the governor of Kufa, Ubayd al ibn Ziyad, entered his palace and killed him in revenge for al-Hussein. They named their army the Army of the Repentant, meaning they repented for their sin against al-Hussein, may God be pleased with him. And indeed, they killed Ubayd al ibn Ziyad. Then, as I said, things settled down for Abdullah ibn Zubair. When Musab ibn Zubair came and took Iraq and joined his brother's kingdom or his brother's rule in the Hijaz, only Syria remained, and here the army of the penitents emerged, calling for allegiance to al-Hussein. We can say here that there is a trace of this, but up until now, the army of the penitents are Sunnis. All that matters is that they are inclined towards al-Hussein instead of Yazid. They believe that al-Hussein is more deserving of the caliphate than Yazid. Does anyone disagree with this, that al-Hussein is more deserving than Yazid? So we are among them. There is no problem, but we are not among those who abandoned him. May God be pleased with him. In any case, up until now, these are Sunnis. All they are doing is believing that al-Hussein is more deserving of the caliphate than Yazid, and that allegiance should have been given to al-Hussein, not Yazid. They did not have, as we said, their own mosques, or Husseinis, or their own doctrines, or anything of the sort from their Sunnis. All that matters is that they are inclined towards al-Hussein, especially after the betrayal that occurred. They wanted to atone for this crime. We are now talking about the year 64 The Kharijites were still active and had a thriving following. Shia, as we see, we're still dealing with individual cases up to the year 64 They didn't have any distinctive characteristics in terms of creed or anything else. But after the arrival of Musab ibn al-Zubair and the killing of these people, especially those at their head, a man called al-Muqtar ibn Abi Ubayd. This al-Muqtar ibn Abi Ubayd was one of the leaders who said to al-Hussein, "Come, let us pledge allegiance to you." He was also one of the leaders who abandoned him and was also one of the leaders of the army of the penitents. This al-Muqtar ibn Abi Ubayd didn't last long before he claimed prophethood. He claimed to be the prophet al-Muqtar ibn Abi Ubayd, and he deviated greatly. When Musab ibn al-Zubair secured the pledge of allegiance for his brother Abdullah in the Hijaz, he marched on Iraq and took it. As we said, these people only killed the governor of Iraq, but the people of Iraq were not united in their opinion, either for or against al-Hussein. May God be pleased with him. Both were Sunnis from the general Abu Ubaid and those with him. They wanted to establish their own state, so they killed each other and things calmed down. But something remained in people's hearts. Things settled down for Abdullah ibn Zubair for 9 years without any problems. Then Marwan ibn al-Hakam, as we said, refused to pledge allegiance until he died and settled in Syria. Then Marwan ibn al-Hakam died and his son Abd al-Malik came after him. He continued as his father had, remaining in Syria, ruling only Syria, while Abdullah ibn Zubair ruled the rest of the Islamic lands. Driven by worldly ambitions, Abd al-Malik ibn Marwan marched on Egypt and took it. Then he marched on Iraq and took it from Abdullah ibn Zubair. Then he marched on Medina. Then on Abdullah ibn Zubair in Mecca, besieged him and killed him at the hands of al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf, as is well known. So Abdullah ibn Zubair was killed in 73 AH. Until now, there is no such thing as Shi'ism. Things have calmed down, the Shia issue is over. Now there is a struggle for power between Abdullah ibn Zubair and Abd al-Malik ibn Marwan. Indeed, after killing Abdullah ibn Zubair, Abd al-Malik ibn Marwan ruled for 20 years, from 73 AH to 837 CE. In the year 93 AH, during the reign of Abd al-Malik ibn Marwan, there were no Shia. This continued until the year 132 AH, the year of the fall of the Umayyad Caliphate. There was no such thing as Shia and Sunni. Rather, people referred to as the Shia of Ali, the Shia of Uthman, the Shia of Muawiyah, the Shia of Yazid, the Shia of Abd al-Malik, and the Shia of al-Zubair. The term Shia meant supporters, as God Almighty said about Noah, peace be upon him, and among his Shia was Abraham, meaning among his supporters, or those who followed his path and way. However, as a distinct sect, there was no such thing. Even during the Umayyad Caliphate, in the year 132 AH, there were Kharijites. Yes, the Kharijites continued fighting, and they fought periodically. When Umar ibn Abd al-Aziz came to power in the year 100 AH, he summoned the Kharijites, examined them, and debated with them. Some of them returned to Islam, but the Kharijites persisted. After Umar, they continued to this day, but the Shia had no presence there. There was no such thing as a Shia. There was no such sect. There were Shia, but there was a Kharijite sect called the Haruriyya. However, no one referred to any specific group or sect as Shia. Rather, it was said that in Iraq, or specifically in Kufa, they were called the Shia of Uthman, and in Basra, the Shia of Ali. But there was no Shia state or Shia as we know it today. The Umayyad dynasty ended, and the Abbasid dynasty came al-Safar, then Abu Ja'far al-Mansur, Harun al-Rashid, al-Mamun, and al-Mutawakkil, or rather, al-Mutasim, al-Watiq, al-Mutawakkil. Until that time, there was nothing called a Shia mosque or a Sunni mosque, or a Shia creed or a Sunni creed. There were only people who became fanatical about the family of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. Then came the non-Arabs, such as Ali ibn Ibrahim al-Qurmi and Muhammad ibn Yaqub al-Kulaini, and after him, Muhammad ibn al-Hasan al-Tusi from Tus, and others like Ibn Babawayh. These non-Arabs began to exploit the love some people had for the family of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and fabricated hadiths began to be attributed to the Prophet's family, peace and blessings be upon him, and especially upon Ja'far al-Sadiq, may God be pleased with him. Then, fabricated hadiths began to be attributed to the Prophet's family, albeit for which God had sent down no authority. A vile and ugly lie against the family of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him and his family. Then came the claim that they were supporters of the Prophet's family. Of course, during this period, especially the Abbasid era, a group of Shia, or those who, let's say, were inclined towards the Prophet's family, claimed to be with Ali, then with Hussein, then with Ali ibn Hussein, or, of course, with Zayd ibn Ali ibn Hussein. This is where the Zaydi sect emerged. The Zaydis existed before the Shia. They emerged with Zayd ibn Ali ibn Hussein. Zayd ibn Ali ibn Hussein, may God be pleased with him, when he rebelled against Hisham ibn Abd al-Malik and was killed. Zaydis, the followers of Zayd ibn Ali were called the Zaydis because a group came to him and said, "We will support you," not knowing that he intended to rebel against Hisham ibn Abd al-Malik. He said, "We will support you, but we have a question for you." He said, "This is a question." He said, "What?" They asked, "What do you say about Abu Bakr and Umar?" He replied, "They are my grandfathers and companions of the Messenger of God. May God bless him and his family and grant them peace." They asked, "Do you not revile them?" He said, "No." They said, "Then we will reject them and we will not be with you." He said, "Go, for you are the Rafidites. I also reject you. You reject them, and I reject you. Go, for you are the Rafidites." It is mentioned, as related by Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Hazm, and other scholars, that the name Rafidites originated from individuals who came to Zayd ibn Ali. These were all individual cases until the matter became clear to his nephew, Jafar al-Sadiq. Jafar ibn Muhammad ibn Ali. Zayd became his uncle Jafar, God blessed and exalted is he, afflicted him with a group of liars who lied about him and claimed he said things he did not say. The strange thing about this matter is how they attributed things to Jafar. May God have mercy on him. They lied that Jafar ibn Muhammad was born in Medina, lived in Medina, his mosque was in Medina, his lessons were in Medina, he grew up in Medina, he died in Medina, and his grave is in Medina. He was Medinan in every respect. Those who claim to be Jafar's followers are all Iraqis from Kufr. Those who say they are his close associates, I don't know how this is possible. It's impossible. In our time, with the internet, fax machines, video calls, live streaming, and things like fiber optics, it's possible. Someone in one city could meet me, talk to me, see me, hear me, speak to me. Yes, but back then, there were no communications or anything like that. How could Jafar ibn Muhammad be born in Medina, live in Medina, have a Medinan mosque where he taught, die in Medina, and be buried in Medina? His students were all from Iraq, almost all from Kufr, the same Kufr that had betrayed his grandfather, Al-Husayn, may God be pleased with him. A group of these people, most notably Zuhra ibn Iyan, Muhammad ibn Muslim, Burayd ibn Muawiyah, Al-Layth al-Muradi, Abu Basir, Jafar al-Arwal, and Jabir al-Jufi all began to lie about Jafar. May God be pleased with him. He warned against them. But when the warning reached him, they said, he said it out of taqiyya, dissimulation, to protect us. He is with us and one of us, and he is the one who told us such and such. They lied about him. When he disavowed them, they said he was doing taqiyya to preserve this religion. And so, this talk deceived some weak-minded or even mindless people and found acceptance among some until Ibn Babawayh al-Qumi, Ali ibn Ibrahim al-Qumi, and Muhammad ibn Yaqub al-Kulani, these non-Arabs, came and collected narrations which they falsely attributed to Jafar, and they said, this is the school of thought of the Ahl al-Bayt. They fabricated a school of thought and said, this is the school of thought of the Ahl al-Bayt, and they lied about the Ahl al-Bayt regarding this school of thought. Therefore, to this day, and I imagine this has been going on for 10 years, now we still demand that all Shia bring a single authentic chain of transmission back to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, according to their own conditions, and they have failed to produce even one hadith. So how To Al-Hussein, attributed to the Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, they cannot prove even one hadith with an authentic chain of transmission back to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. Meanwhile, the Sunnis have all the hadiths of the Prophet, and they do not worship God except according to what is authentically narrated from the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and they do not even have a chain of transmission for the Holy Quran. Among the Sunnis, there is a chain of transmission isnad that you receive from a sheikh, and that sheikh received it from the sheikh before him. If you complete memorization under him, he gives you an ijazah license with a chain of transmission. They do not have this because they do not possess a chain of transmission for the Quran. So they do not possess a chain of transmission for the Quran, nor do they possess a chain of transmission for the Sunnah. Rather, it is a fabricated doctrine falsely attributed to Ja'far, let alone those who preceded him. Muhammad al-Bakir, Ali ibn al-Hussein, al-Hassan, Ali ibn Abi Talib, and even the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him and his family. Thus, the lying, forgery, and deception continued, and books were written and attributed to the family of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him and his family, until the Safavid state came at the end of the 8th century AH and the beginning of the 9th century AH, and they opened the door wide, lying about the family of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him and his family, in a way that no other group has ever been lied about. This is a brief overview of the origins of this sect, the Twelver Shia. This discussion includes the Twelver Shia with its 8 branches, and God willing, we will discuss the most important beliefs with which they deviated from the path